Finding new locations for your portrait sessions isn't always easy. Maybe you move to a new city and you don't know any good spots yet, or maybe you just live in a small town and you think that that town's boring with nothing really interesting. Trust me, I was there before I moved to Toronto, but that didn't stop me from finding good locations that looked good in my portraits. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. I want to show you the entire process of how I scout locations and find locations for my next photo shoot. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing I do is obviously consider the style or the overall vibe of what the shoot is. For example, I have a shoot coming up tomorrow actually, and this is what the client said. She said, I like something kind of minimal with not so much going on in the background, as well as neutral colors, white, beige, brown, black, etc. I'm open to outdoor or inside as well. With neutral colors in mind, I dive right into Google Earth. You can use Google Maps or Google Earth, it doesn't really matter because both programs have the Street View feature. Then I'll zoom into my city, and before I go into street mode, I actually switch the map into 3D mode. That way I'm not spending hours going through the Street View and I can still see how things look. When doing this part of the search, it helps having some knowledge on the neighborhoods in your city. For example, I know that the financial district is full of high-rise buildings. Queen West's a little bit more hip, has some small shops, a lot of street art, and Yorkville is known for its upscale neighborhood, ritzy shops, and Victorian homes. So usually I'll just pick two general neighborhoods that fits the overall aesthetic or the overall vibe, drop my point randomly in that neighborhood, and just go into the street view. We'll do it here with the Yorkville area. Okay, so this is where it dropped us, and I'm just gonna do a little 360 here, kind of see the area. And right off the bat, I see this building right here, you know, very neutral in color. There's some texture on the wall where we can get some photos of her leaning up against the wall. Even on this corner here, very minimal. Neutral in colors, we go down. This here would make a great spot for a photo shoot. It doesn't fit the vibe of this shoot because it's very colorful and very green. There's some shadows with the leaves here. Definitely a great spot for a shoot. Let's just continue going down the street here. And again, we have a beautiful location, perfect for this type of photo shoot. Very minimal and neutral in colors. We can get some photos right outside these black doors, which looks really, really cool. You can do some stuff with this fence. This is probably someone's house, but would make a great photo spot. But let's just keep going here, and I'm just going to zoom back out, drop another random point anywhere here. I'm in someone's restaurant. This is not right. What the heck? How do I get out? Downstairs? This is the weirdest thing ever. I have never, ever seen this before on Google Maps. That was a full tour in that restaurant. I mean, you could do something with this white little doorway here. That would fit the aesthetic. And basically this is what I do. I just go down a bunch of different streets and just continue looking for cool buildings that would look good. Like this building right here. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with these locations. Let's keep going here. And again, you have another spot you can take photos at. Very neutral in color, these buildings, but they have these beautiful pillars out front. At least some of them do. You can see that in less than 5 minutes, we found a bunch of locations that are very neutral in color and fit the overall aesthetic or vibe the model wants. So we'll save these locations for later. Let me show you another one. Let's say I wanted to go for a colorful summer vintage kind of look. I already know that downtown is out of the question. The buildings are just too modern. We're trying to go for that vintage look. They're also very neutral in color, being almost all black and gray. Again, we're trying to go for that colorful colorful look, so downtown is just not gonna work. But Queen West, on the other hand, could work. It has a lot of street art that makes it a super colorful area, has a lot of small little shops that give us that vintage look, so let's go check out Queen West. Let's just take a little look here, 360. We're trying to go for that older look, preferably something that has like this little like a banner like this. That gives off like vintage vibes, I guess. And there's the street art I was talking about. So again, this brings a lot of color, especially on a very summer day. And there we go. We have a shop that looks like it's not new. It looks like something straight out of the 80s. It has this green and white overhead banner or something. Super old store, and it definitely fits that vintage vibe we were going for. So after I found a few locations on the map, I then physically go to those locations. This is because maps can be outdated, and the last thing you want to do is book a shoot for that spot and then show up there with the client and it looks nothing like it did on Google Maps. So I can't stress this enough. If you're using Google Maps, then you have to physically go to those locations to make sure they look exactly like they did on your computer. Now, one of the best ways you can find locations in your city is to just get outside. I feel like I find the majority of my locations when I'm out for a motorcycle ride, going to the store, or walking with friends. Plan was to film this section of the video outside, but it is way too hot. It's plus 32, and there's actually a heat warning from the environment of Canada for Toronto, so I won't be filming this section outside. But like I said, I come across so many locations when I'm out on a motorcycle ride, walking to the store, or just walking with friends. Like seriously, I will be walking with friends and then out of nowhere, the photographer in me just kicks in and I'll be like, that would be a great spot for a photo shoot. And I actually have so many photos of spots that I took when I was walking that I just take them on my phone because my phone saves the location of the spot I took that photo at. So if you go through the photos on my phone, you're gonna see a bunch of pictures from random locations that I took while I was walking that would make great spots for photo shoots. Because this is the best method, at least I think so, one thing I've been doing more and more lately is going out for a motorcycle ride every day and taking different routes to see different things. So I would definitely recommend going out for a drive as much as you can and take different routes. If you're going to drive to the store or drive to work, take a different route and go down that street that you always pass. I remember when I first moved to Toronto, I didn't know how to get around and what streets go where, and one day I was like, let me just get on my motorcycle and drive around and take every single street I saw with no Google directions or GPS. And the worst that can happen was I got lost and I pull up my phone and set the GPS back to home. Only a couple weeks went by and I knew everything. I knew which streets were one ways, which streets you can't turn down at a certain time, which streets led to highways, just overall how to get around. And I remember my dad coming to visit and we were driving somewhere and he went to go set up the GPS in the car, and I was like, Dad, we don't need that. But what I'm trying to say is the more you go out and the more you explore your city, the more things you'll see and the more locations you'll find. It's just something that will happen. Another way I find locations is through Instagram. Now, I don't go on Instagram just to find locations. It's more like if I see a photo at a location that I may want to shoot at, I'll save that location for later. So to make this work, I follow a lot of Toronto photographers. I follow a lot of Toronto portrait photographers, wedding photographers, street photographers, and seeing 50 posts a day of photos taken in your city just allows you to see more locations that you maybe didn't even know existed. An easy way of finding photographers in your area is just to search Toronto photographer, or if you live in, I don't know, San Diego, search San Diego photographer. You can also just search the city you live in, head over to the places tab and look at the photos and find locations like that. Lastly, just know that you don't have to stress over locations. I used to be that type of person that stressed over locations and worried if a spot was going to look good or not, but came to realize that the majority of lenses that we use to take our portraits have a really wide aperture, which makes everything in the background blurry anyway. Mind you, because I shoot mostly with the 35mm, and you do get a lot more of the environment in your shot as well as not that much background blur, I do try finding good locations because I know it's gonna be seen in the final photo. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to see my upcoming video of the entire photo shoot process, from booking to planning to sending contracts, taking payment, to the shoot and editing. I hope you take some of these tips and use them to find locations in your city. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and hit that bell to be notified when I post a new video, and I'll see you in the next one.